You already know what it is. It's me, Tri-Town Tory, coming to you live from the Northwest, and I got my friend Red in the house. How's it going today, Red?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. If you're tuning in with us right now, all we're doing is we're getting ready to have a conversation about some random things. Because that's what I like about my podcast is that whatever I want to talk about, I find a way to do it. So, how are you doing today, Red?
You just asked me that.
I know, but this is the first time that our listeners get to hear it because we had to start over.
No, like you asked me. You asked me that at the beginning when you started it.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
See, she's already high.
No, I'm not. You are, obviously, because you forgot.
Well, we could play it back, but I don't want to prove my point that bad. But she's doing great. She's done with people. That's a norm. That's on brand for Red. Me, on the other hand, you know, we've been dealing with the snow up here in the Northwest. This weird. What would you consider this? Like flurries? I don't know. It's not quite a blizzard, I don't think.
It's like we didn't get snow all year, and so we're getting it all at once.
Yeah.
Like all in 1 week.
Maybe it's been a couple years because the last time I remember us being snowed in, like to our parking spots like this, was 2019 or 2018 going into 2019 because that's when they called it the snowpocalypse.
Yeah, but we got some snow last year too that was like not like that much, not as much as this time,
Right.
but like quite a bit. But we didn't get like, I think it snowed one other time before this time, like on Christmas, and it hasn't snowed since.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm kind of due for it.
We had 266 accidents or something the first couple days, or maybe that was the first day.
That's because no one knows how to fucking drive.
That's what everybody says, but unfortunately, there isn't any kind of video that's out there teaching people how to drive.
There is. It's called driver's ed.
Well, I'm just saying there needs to be some big universal YouTube video that people sit and watch because at this point they need re-education. You know, they should be able to cut people's license in half sometimes. I seen somebody driving a 4x4 thinking that it was all good because, you know, their vehicles for the snow, and then they ended up facing the opposite way on the other side of the highway.
See,
and
that's the issue too, just being a jackass.
You know?
Because you know that he's just a jackass.
Well, what's the cure for being a jackass, huh? There isn't one, right?
Just being self-aware that you're a jackass and trying to fix it.
There's no video for that, right?
No, you just gotta not be that.
But anyways, so it's enough about the snow. I'm really hoping that that's it for the rest of the year. I mean, I don't really want to see any more snow. But yeah, other than that, I was trying to think about like cool things that we could talk about too, because we do have like a big thing that we want to talk about that we're gonna like cover, and I kind of want to spring that on the listeners a little bit later. But up until then, I want to talk about current events a little bit. The last podcast that we did, which we got great feedback on, got a lot of people who were interested in what you had to say. We covered a lot of things from Joe Exotic, which didn't age well at all. Mm-hmm. We even got into cancel culture a bit, and we talked a little bit about politics without being disgusting about it. We kind of just breezed over it. And I figured we could do the same thing.
Let's talk about Texas.
Okay, yeah. Okay, shout out to all my Texas listeners because I do have people listening in Texas. Sometimes it's hard to tell where they're coming from because it just says Texas. It doesn't really break down my cities quite yet because I have to develop as a podcast to get more analytics. But shout out to everybody out there. I did see all over the internet that people have been having a lot of fun poking fun at how Texas is dealing with this because it's like once every 100 years they have something like this where knocks the fucking power grid, you know, off and shit. But what is your overall thought about what they're going to do?
I mean, I was making fun of Texas at first too.
Mm-hmm.
Like for the first day or two because I was like, haha, that's so funny. You guys can't deal with snow. But now I just feel bad for them.
Yeah, I do
because they're
too.
like not meant for snow. They're just like, why would they expect it? It's fucking Texas. They're by Mexico. Like they're right there.
They didn't pay the money that they needed to for services that they would need in that situation.
Their houses aren't even insulated.
Oh my goodness.
I didn't know that, but I've been like learning a lot about how they're like set up there. Is their houses are insulated, which I guess makes sense because you would want a very airy house when you live in a very hot, like I think it's like very hot, like not humid, but like dry climate usually. It's very desert-like.
Yeah. What do you think about that mayor who, like, apparently the story goes that he had just quit his job or he had gotten fired, one of the two, and he went on his social media page, which I believe was Facebook, just by the nature of what he wrote, and just let off how he felt about people complaining about the government not coming in and saving them.
He was complaining about, he tweeted something about people.
Oh, it was Twitter?
Yeah. It was of course it was Twitter. That's where everything goes down now.
Facebook.
I don't even have a fucking Twitter. I just see the posts later because I've seen the posts.
Uh-huh.
And it was going off about how you guys should plan for this yourself, and it's not the government's job to take care of you when a natural disaster, build a fire and take care of your family, that's your job. And it's dude, for one, that is your job. That's right. What you're elected to do.
Yes.
How he's talking to us, they elected officials forget that technically we're your employers.
Mm-hmm.
If I talk to a customer like that or talk to my manager like that, I'd be fired on the spot.
Yes.
You don't get to talk, no matter how rude they are to you. You can't do it, unfortunately.
So this guy thought there was going to be no ramifications because he thinks, hey, I'm quitting, I'm walking away from this.
From my understanding, this made him have to resign. That's what second tweet it's about.
No, I read a little bit different. I read that he felt compelled to say what he said because he felt like he was dodging some major bullets because fuck this, I'm already out the door. And that's why when I read the second part and I read a little bit more about what they were saying,
mm-hmm.
it showed that the big thing that came from this was that his wife lost her job. Because of what he wrote. She was defending him and she lost her job.
Bitch should have minded her business.
I think so too. I mean,
why would you defend that?
Well, if you think about it, your husband is out here making your whole family and you look like
stupid.
Idiots.
Yeah, you look stupid.
So what do clowns. You do?
You keep your mouth shut, and to everyone around you, you just be like, I'm not with him.
Yeah.
You just hope that no one connects the two.
Yeah, it's a weird freak situation because you rarely see a guy show his ass like that thinking that he's just going to dodge all sorts of bullets, all sorts of strays, not have any kind of repercussion. And then lo and behold, the woman, the only person who's been supporting him the whole fucking time, had his back even when he was saying the craziest shit of his life, loses her fucking job.
Yeah.
So now both of you are almost stained with this stench that you guys...
For her to defend her husband, I'm sorry, that means she agrees with him. And maybe she deserves it a little bit. Because, obviously you think the same way as him if you're defending him publicly. Because nothing makes her defend it publicly. You can, say what you want personally, but...
I will shoot... This is just me, because I know you feel differently.
Yeah.
I will give her a little bit of sympathy in the sense that when things are happening, when you're in the hot seat and the lights are on you, your first reaction is to react. And sometimes, people make the wrong decision of going with their emotions and feelings rather than their logic. And that's probably what happened because she sounds, from what I hear, like she's a smart woman, Maybe she's the one who was holding everything together. I don't know, but
no, you're right.
But I will say this because I'm somebody who wants to give a woman the benefit of the doubt, especially when she has to be with a fucking moron like that guy.
Right, but you have to think, for one,
mm-hmm.
Nowadays divorce is an option. She had obviously a decent job.
Right.
So she doesn't have to be with him. Two, my mom's a Karen. And I've had her yelling at employees in front of me. And I literally have just walked away. I'm like, I'm not going to yell at you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to argue with you or make you, because I know if I yell at you and tell you to stop, you ain't going to stop.
Right.
I'm not going to help you. I'm just not going to get involved, and I'm just going to leave. I've done that in, high school. So I'm just saying, she's a grown woman, and if she can't just keep her mouth shut if she doesn't agree with it and just mind a business, then I would say she either agrees with it or she's more immature than a high schooler.
Yeah, and I would honestly have to hear more from her for me to completely just sympathize with her situation. Because like you said, I could have her completely wrong, and she could literally just be a mindless Karen that's just following her idiotic husband, and this is the way that they live.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then maybe my sympathy would be saved for something else that is more important.
Yeah.
I will say this though, from more and more that I hear about the emergency down in Texas, and it is an emergency. They're coming out telling people to boil their fucking water and do whatever they can.
Which, by the way, how are you going to do that? Because they don't have electricity, right? But
some people have gas.
How many people have gas? And then you have to also think, how many people have like a fireplace? Because again, you are in Texas. Mm-hmm. Why would you need a fireplace?
Well, you see, I also felt like the reason why they were talking that way to their citizens, I guess you would call them, is because they felt like these are skills that Texas people have.
I don't agree with that.
Because if you think about it, traditionally, stereotypically, you would say, they should be one that would be able to...
Yeah, but these are happening... The big issues that people are having, like with the power, is mostly happening in like the really big cities. And those people are city people. Like, whether they're Texans or not, they're city people.
And it's illogical, yes. But I'm just speaking to why they would have the audacity to say that what they did. Because...
I think they had the audacity to say what they did because they're so out of touch with things. And they've gone away with talking to their people who vote for them like they are stupid and just like they are just rednecks that will like blindly follow them, and that's not who they are. They are people with like thoughts and everything, and they're not stupid.
Right. What I'm saying is almost giving them credit like they thought about the situation.
Yeah, and I don't think they did. I think they literally just think that they can talk like that to them because they've talked like that to them for this long, and they've gotten away with it.
Do you think that this kind of situation, the way they handled it, kind of feeds into the narrative that eventually we will have to eat the rich? And the reason I say that is because these politicians make these decisions and they say the things that they do from the comfort of their salary. And
right, but guess who gets to take away that salary? I mean, we are in a democratic society. We get to. And you have to remember that, the reason that Texas is having some of the problems they do are because of their laws that they made and they decided to make, and those laws tend to be conservative laws that have caused these problems. Like their power grid's not connected to the rest of the country because they wanted to avoid federal taxes and federal regulations.
Okay,
that's part of why they're out of power right now.
So okay. See, that's what people don't think about too.
Like that's partly why they're out of power is because if this happens to say California when they have their issues, technically there are extra power and they can hook up, from my understanding, to the power grid with us and get some of that reserve power eventually, maybe we have to move it or whatever, however that works, right? Also, and this is just my theory, I don't know if this is actually what those companies do up there, right?
Alleged.
Yeah, ECOT or whatever is the major electric company in Texas, right? It's a private company because it's not owned by the government.
Okay.
Two, that's another thing is the electric companies are private companies. They're not run by the government like other people's are. Like ours is run by the government. We pay them to give us electricity.
Right.
They don't do that in Texas. Okay, it's all privatized.
Well, does that go back to our point, or not our point, but the point that they were trying to make and saying that it's not the government's job to come and save you?
Well, see, the point is they've made laws that have made it so, yes, the government isn't in control of the power. That's a private company. Problem is, because they've done that, because they've passed laws that have done that, because it benefits big companies and corporations to make a lot of money off of that. My theory is I know that if there's more energy, it's cheaper, right? That's why if you have solar panels and you're giving electricity to them because they're getting extra electricity, like sometimes you can make your bill non-existent eventually because you're giving back to the power grid, right? When you don't have if you have extra power, it's cheaper. So you don't want it to be cheaper if you're a private corporation, right? So you don't store extra power. So when things like this happen, there's no extra power. You just have no power.
They say the big thing was the windmills freezing.
Which, that's not then Texas didn't build their windmills, right? Because Sweden almost entirely uses windmill power, and they are a frozen country. So does Greenland.
Do you think that it's just simply the fact that when engineering these things, they only took the common like climate into consideration.
They didn't take into account that one day there'd be a fucking blizzard, because the reason that the blizzard came through is, I've been reading that I don't understand exactly how the polar vortex works, right? Mm-hmm. But due to global warming, the polar vortex has kind of like ripped or dragged down, and now it's coming through. We got some of it. That's what this storm was. But it's coming down, and it's stretching down to Texas. And that's why they're having these weather issues, because parts of Texas are colder than Alaska.
Are they being hit harder than any other place? They're just...
No, they are being hit pretty fucking hard. Some of the other southern states right next to them are too, but Texas mostly, just because of where they are positioned and how the polar vortex is stretching down, it's causing polar winds to sweep through the area.
So a good analogy is like an old elderly person getting hit by like a freight train.
Yeah.
Wow.
They just weren't prepared. Because why would that happen? Why would that happen?
Right. Well, same way that California prepares for the major earthquake that's coming, by doing
all
drills
of their
and stuff.
Buildings are made to withstand earthquakes. They are. Most of them are built to deal with it because they know what's going to happen.
Right.
Texas didn't know a blizzard was going to come through. That's like getting mad at someone. Like, that's why that mayor getting mad at everyone, be like, you should have prepared, right? Or anyone defending that.
Right.
That's like someone living in a desert, like the Sahara Desert, right? And because it rains a little bit, you should get flood insurance. Why would you do that?
So many people take their chances, and that's what creates this huge...
Because someone today told me, like, they said something about it, right? And I told them, like, why would they expect that? And they're like, last time I checked, it gets cold and rains in Texas. And I'm like, yeah, a little bit. And it gets, the lowest it gets is like 36 degrees on average. Again, that is like telling someone that lives in a desert you should get flood insurance because it rains a little bit.
So, Red, let me run this past you. If Katrina had happened with social media how it is today and technology how it is today, would it be worse or would it be just as bad as far as a natural disaster? And I'm already feeling stupid asking that because, come on, the hurricane was fucking bad. It was horrible, right? But I think there's something to be said about having stronger technology, internet, for us to stay in contact. It's been has it been over 10 years? It has to have been over 10 years.
I think so.
Yeah. I need to fact check that. But, yeah, what do you think as far as... Do you think that having technology and being able to communicate is better, especially even though you can't necessarily get more help because of it? Or is it worse because people make jokes because they're so far away and so disconnected from your pain?
Hurricane Katrina happened 15 years ago, or almost 16. It happened in 2005.
Jesus. And, like I said, I feel for everybody in Texas, but, it's just something that they're going to have to come together and help each other out because our own government is really going to do what they always do.
Their government doesn't care about them.
Governments in general, so they move so slow.
Well, they do somewhat, but they also don't because you have to think about the pandemic that happened, right?
Yeah,
how some states moved quickly and some states did not move quickly. Some countries moved quickly and got to have fun, while some countries did not, hence us, and do not get to have fun.
But even the ones that moved quickly and got to have fun, some of them didn't do the right things, like Florida, for example.
Florida didn't do any right, because they just wanted a quick fix, and they were also fudging up their fucking numbers to make it look less bad.
I wonder why Florida gets to be like the crooked cousin in America. They're the ones that always have the controversy, from cocaine building Miami pretty much to do you remember when the pharmaceutical drug running from the prescription doctors doing prescriptions? I don't
know why Florida's fucked up.
They're really fucked up.
They're just like that weird cousin.
Zimmerman?
Yeah, no, not weird cousin, weird uncle. They're just a weird uncle.
Bath salts? You can go on and on and on about the things that have happened over there in that state. And yet, people want to go there like it's the next California or the second California.
Yeah, why is it the state that all the old people go to for retirement is also the fucking weird one.
Maybe it's because old people can be manipulated and sometimes they're scammed out of their fucking wealth out there.
But all of the weird shit doesn't even involve the old people.
It's gotta be something in the water. Or maybe the mosquitoes. It's gotta be biological. I mean, think about it.
I mean, it doesn't have to be.
Well, what else could
Cultural. Could be cultural.
But that's... I mean, there's different ways to affect the mind, right? Because the mind is a control system for everything. Mm-hmm. So if someone's behavior is mimicking a pattern and they see it through visual stimuli, that's no different than somebody watching MTV all day, right? But if there's something in the water, and that's just not literally in the water, but something down there is affecting their minds. Like air quality, water, like just something that's going unregulated because everything else is...
everyone there would be fucking weird.
But there's a lot...
I just think I think it's just a cultural thing. I think just culturally, they're fucking weird.
And I got listeners in Florida, like I'm not saying the whole state, but I'm talking about the ones that are affected.
Listen, people in Florida know Florida.
Florida's fucked.
Yeah, like I watched videos of like YouTubers who are from Florida. Mm-hmm. If you're from Florida, you know. They got fucking gators in the sewer. Yeah, you know.
But with peace and love, I definitely love the good people of Florida that are good over there. But for the ones that are wacky and crazy all over, man, you already know what the deal is with that. God. But so Florida, okay. I see I don't even know how we ended up in Florida. I think we ended up in Florida by way of Katrina, because we were talking about Katrina. But then before that, we were talking about Texas.
Yeah.
But anyways, let's switch up the conversation a little bit. Let's see, what else could we talk about that's happened in this past week? There's the whole impeachment thing that happened, the trial, the second one. I don't even want to talk about that. I don't even want to go into that.
I don't want to talk about that.
There's really nothing for us
Guess who doesn't exist anymore?
Who?
That person. I don't care about him.
For 4 more years at least.
No, he doesn't exist forever. Forever.
That's what that was about.
Listen, forever. I don't care. I've decided. He's not coming back.
Right. Well, I was listening to Joe Rogan talk to Elon Musk. And they were talking about a rocket that they were building. And it's funny because, just on a light note, he quoted the Dictator movie. Have you ever seen the Dictator movie? Mm-mm. It's with the guy who did Borat and shit like that.
Oh, yeah.
He's pretty much doing a parody or a satire on dictators. So he has his own country, and they had fucking rockets and shit they were blasting off or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, somebody comes up to him and tells him, what do you think of the rocket? And the rocket has a round tip, kind of looks like a dick, right? And he's like, make it pointier. He said, make it pointier. And it's funny because Elon was so influenced by that he actually told his people who were making rockets to make it pointier because of the movie reference.
I fucking hate Elon Musk.
And I was thinking to myself, like, how powerful are memes that the richest person in the world is making decisions about rocket ships based off of the humor of a movie?
Listen, I'm telling you, that's him trying to be relatable.
Okay, so you don't think that it genuinely is humorous to him?
No, I really don't.
See, I think that he has a big sense of humor.
I hate Elon Musk.
See, I'm on the opposite. I think that I think he's great.
Listen, let me tell you why I hate him first, and then it would change why.
I think he also said something last time we talked on the pod about why you hated him.
Is it the surf thing?
I think that you broke into why Gen Z.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So we're going to talk why I hate him, and you're going to hate him afterwards. There's no fucking way. I'm sorry. If you like...
I think you tried this before, but I'm ready to go again.
This part's weird.
I'm ready to go again. You tried this before. But.
Okay. So, he's talking about how to help people get to Mars, right?
Right.
He's like, if you can't afford it, what you can do is agree that once you get to Mars, you just work off the labor to pay back going to Mars. And if you
can't afford it.
Yeah. Right. And if you, to start a new life or whatever, right? And if you don't pay it off during your lifetime, basically, it would go on to your kids. He's basically talking about serfs, which are technically just slaves.
Well, I didn't hear that second part because I did hear when he was talking about that on the last time he was on Joe's. What he said was what you said the first part. If he might have said it in a different interview, I didn't hear it.
Well, the contract, how it's explained or whatever, I was reading something else. and people talking about it on like YouTube.
Because that sounds like something anybody could tap on.
You're right. I'm just saying this is what I heard, and I don't fucking like it. And the way that you'd work it off when you get there, it'd be so fucking expensive that like how even he's explaining without the second part, it's being a serf.
Well,
which is what people did to go over to the new world, which is literally like you just work for someone until you die sometimes. Because usually the price is so fucking crazy that really you can't work it up, or they find ways that you can't work it up.
Historically, it's really been bad.
Yeah. And so just the idea of like this is how we're going to help people fund to go to Mars just is so out of touch, so shitty, and
I
just
did hear
so
a different theory
and shitty.
Of who's going up first. I heard a different theory. And it kind of borrows from what you were saying, but I can see how the two stories are kind of
even the statement of him, like, even thinking that.
But we don't know. Allegedly. We don't know. Allegedly.
Without the second part. He did say the first part.
Yes. And that's the part where I'm with you on that.
And that part's gross. How even he explained it with the first part.
But it's not a requirement to leave our regular life. It's not.
No, but it still makes him shitty.
It's a luxury to do so. And if you're an idiot to go up and do work... Like, you're going to go up there and work. It's not easy. He describes... He puts all the shit in the warning label. So, when you walk into it, you know what you walked into.
I just want you to know that there's a lot of things in the world that was the mindset. And then later on, we look back and we're like, wow, that was actually really gross and wrong.
Right. No, I understand that.
That is already one of them that when we look back at, like, history already.
We also have to give it a chance, because for us to die on one planet...
Give anything a chance.
Well, that's your opinion. For us to die on one planet when we could possibly colonize other planets and continue to move in a direction, well, yeah, why not? I mean, I don't see there being an issue with sending, like, the way the theory was that the first people that are gonna go up there are essentially essential to the planet's development. So they're gonna do the phase 1, which is setting up everything. So, I don't imagine...
And those people are going to be people that want to go to Mars, but honestly can't afford to go to Mars.
Well, they're going to be volunteers, but suitable volunteers, right? That he's going to have to vet in his own way. But my whole thing is this. I don't get caught up in the details that I don't understand as far as being true, because I heard a different interview than that one.
But think about it. Okay, so they're not volunteers. They're going to be people that want to go to Mars.
If what you say word for word is what is being said, then yeah, you're not right. I mean, you're not wrong. You're definitely right about that. But what I will say is that the richest person in the world is the person who I would imagine that would attempt something so large. And he's doing it.
It doesn't make it okay.
But there's a lot of things in our world that if we didn't risk, taking some sort of like weird, like giving a fuck about our reputation being, a certain way, then we wouldn't be as far as we are. I mean, there's a lot of things that we've gotten into as a nation.
See, you can't think of it like that, because there's a lot of things that, when you look back on it,
right?
It's like, well, is that worth it, though? Is that worth it? Like, are you deciding that, like, those people being treated like that or having that be their life because, like, they maybe really need something like that, so they maybe, in their mind, have no choice but to agree to something.
But you see, we keep jumping from...
really gross.
It's a huge topic, and we jump from a nation to just an individual in just a second. It's really hard to make an argument for either way, because, yes, you're just not for him. Yeah, right?
No, I'm not. No, listen. I am actually so against the idea of it, of how, like, even he explained it in the first one that I'm agreeing with you on, that... even if, like, so I would like Hosley, right?
Right.
If, like, fucking, for some fucking reason she came out and said the same fucking thing,
right,
I literally would be like, that's gross. I don't like you anymore. You're gross.
Right. Okay.
So it's actually the idea and the statement itself that really makes me go, ew, you're gross.
Okay, but I just think that what he's doing isn't ethically wrong. The same way that sending some people to the moon wasn't wrong. But
those people were paid to go to the moon. They were scientists that were paid to go to the moon, not the idea that, hey...
I'm going to stop you right there. How are you going to pay somebody that's going to go and live on Mars? I mean, how are we to say that they're not going to have their own sort of currency system going as is? Yes, they're going to have to work, but it's going to be work until society is even built there. So, like, to think that to go to Mars...
So the difference is, if they're going to go to the moon, right?
Right.
It's their
or
job.
Mars.
We're starting with the moon one, right? They're going to go and do their job, right?
Because they can come back to Earth.
Right. They can go back to Earth, but also they've signed a thing basically being like, I'm going to do this. But at any moment, they can just decide, fuck this shit. I don't want to get paid. I don't want to go to the moon. I'm not fucking going to the moon.
Okay.
Right? But
which no one's done.
Right. Because why would you? I mean, you're a scientist. You're gonna come back. You're gonna come back a hero.
Yeah.
Right. You really want to go to the moon.
Right.
Right. But the idea that you are gonna have someone that's gonna go up there, and they're signing off that like, you're gonna take them to the moon, and they're gonna work for you. That means that if you're treating them like shit, they can't just quit. One day.
But who's going to create...
They belong to you, almost.
But what's treating you like shit, though?
He could do anything at any time to say he doesn't care about them anymore. There's something really bad could happen. He could be like, I'm not going to even try to help you guys. Or, like, think of, like...
You know that doesn't reflect anything in his character up to this point?
Doesn't matter. Okay, think of it this way. George Washington's a great person, right? As far as we know. Character-wise, we think of him as a good person, right?
Okay. Well, some of us.
He owned actual slaves. And people could think, well, what bad could he have really done to them? Or what's so bad that make them not want to be there?
I don't think anybody is thinking that.
No, but it's the same. That's what I'm saying, though. The idea that you can't leave if he does something.
For the analogy. Gotcha.
He has already, like, just doesn't care about people. He's done things.
Okay. Well, he has, not on the level of, like, a Jeff Bezos, where his workers are the closest thing to suicidal.
No. You're right, and I hate fucking Jeff Bezos, too.
Okay, he's doing the same thing with Blue Origin. He's trying to make it to the same...
And I just disagree with that just as much.
But you see, it's easier to see the contrast between the two of them in this regards, because Elon's character shows me something different than how you described the future Elon. You know,
it doesn't matter what his character entwines.
It does when you think about in the sense that a person's best determinant of how they're going to be in the future is their past.
No one at any time should have ownership of another person that they could treat them however they want. They wouldn't be able to just quit. Just like, hey, I don't want to work for you anymore. You're not being nice to me. You're not understanding me. You're doing things I don't care about.
But let's say you were the one who's in charge to say that this was ill. Or that this was not good, right? You make the legislation and you enforce it, right? Okay. You're the person, okay? How are you going to determine what people can take or what they should be able to do when they sign on to something like this? They're out of their free will going out of their way to sign up for this situation. But you want to create a morality clause where...
No, I wouldn't be making a morality clause. So you're making up something that wouldn't be...
I'm not making... I mean,
well, no, the scenario that you're making doesn't...
If you were to make law.
Yeah, that already doesn't make sense because I just make the whole thing illegal. I wouldn't have like a limit where it's like, hey, this is too far.
No, but who are you to do that? Like, how would you be? That's like you saying...
Okay, that's like saying that I can't tell a business that you can't have your employee sign a contract saying that they can't quit for any reason.
Well, that's different.
No, it's the same. No, it is the same thing. It is the same thing because they're paying me and they make sure I get food and everything. He'd be doing the same thing. He's paying them. He made sure they got there. But the difference is because I made sure you got there, you're going to work for me now, no matter what.
But that's just the nature of the job.
No.
I mean, it would be different if he was on Earth.
No. See, and that's not where it should make the difference. It shouldn't just be because you're on another planet that we're going to change shit up because that wouldn't fly on Earth. That wouldn't fly with a business. You already now would not agree if a business did that, would you?
Well, I think that what we're touching on is something bigger. We're touching on what the future laws of space and Mars and shit is going to be.
But they shouldn't be like that because we've already done that on Earth and it wasn't okay.
What we're finding is that it's really hard to land on a solid point from both perspectives. It's really hard. And it's because... we just don't see eye to eye on certain things. And I think this is interesting, okay? I think this is interesting because I think in the future when they have to make laws, it's not going to reflect the ones that are on Earth because this is a different situation.
No, it would reflect the laws on Earth slightly because what you are not going to do is say that someone's going to go to another planet and no matter what they do, you have to, like, you work for them now because that wouldn't fly.
You said slightly. What does that mean?
What do you mean slightly?
You said that it's going to reflect Earth's law slightly. See, you even understand that it's not going to be the exact same thing.
Because it's a different fucking planet.
That's what I'm saying. That's my point I'm making.
But, I'm going to finish, right?
You just made my fucking...
No,
yes.
I didn't make your point.
About that, yeah. Okay, go.
Because we're still going to follow the laws slightly on Earth, right? The basics of them. We already understand that in the past, we have done things like that. We've had serfs, right? And been like, and we've already decided that's not how you treat people because you're basically a slave because they can do whatever and you belong to them because you have to work off your debt to this person, right? Mm-hmm. You can't say no. So we've already decided that companies can't do that. A company cannot make you sign saying that the only people that can do that is the government. The only jobs that you do that to are the government. And even then, the government's like, if you feel like your religion is threatened or like any of those protected classes are threatened, they can't fucking do it either, right? Or your safety. Like if you feel unsafe, you report them to the Better Business Bureau or whatever fucking third-party entity that's meant to report them.
Okay, so we agree on something big. We agree that it's going to look like the laws of Earth slightly. Because that allows for there to be some modification due to the terrain.
But what we can't do is do the same fucking thing we've done in the past because we already know it's unethical. Because
okay. So we were to edit the past.
We would not be doing serfs again because if we knew now what we know now, we know it's unethical.
So the only way to do it with ethics is to use robotics.
Yeah, honestly, you either use a robot or you agree that when they get there, like, these are, like, just like unions. You know how unions have rules on how companies have to treat them, right? Mm-hmm. There'd be you can't do this to people.
You know what? You just gave
and unfortunately, I don't think that they should be able to set shit up there unless they know they can bring them back.
You gave me a thought, because the people who are going to be up there are not going to be civilians working as serfs. It's going to be, like, engineer, technician, people who are controlling robotics.
And that better be what it is.
That's what's going to happen because regular people would be useless up there.
But we were making that assumption because when he talked about it, he definitely made it sound like it's going to be people who want to go to Mars and this is how they're going to pay for it.
Well, honestly, the only way that I just thought about it. You gave me the whole thought that the only people who will be allowed up there are people who can control robots that can create what they need to sustain life.
You are making that assumption that's
but
what
it's a smart assumption to make because it's almost the opposite of what you're saying in the sense we're both making assumptions here, right? But what mine is that I'm taking into consideration that if you send regular civilians up there to do manual labor on a planet we have never had any experience on,
that would make no fucking sense.
It would be a suicide mission.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense to me. What you would do is you would train technicians and engineers, people who actually operate like creating robotics.
See, and then that would be different. Most likely what he's going to do is go through a third party, and the only thing that would be ethical in this situation, I would think, is to be going through either a third party or creating a part of his company that would...
He would create a part of his company.
Yeah, that would then, almost like people who get like mercenaries for shit, right? You're going to train these people. They're going to be under the understanding.
They have to be.
Yeah.
Yes.
That, like, you're going to train for this to be something. You're going to go to Mars. You're going to be scientists. You're going to build shit, right?
Yeah.
You're under the assumption. We're all under agreement of how you're going to be treated up there. Mm-hmm. And if I don't do that, I'm either breaking the law or I broke our contract and I can't be sued, basically. You know? So you're not a serf. Because that means that he can do what the fuck he wants to you. The only way to be ethical is that he'd have to train people and they'd be and do a mental evaluation,
right? And
they all have to be under the fucking understanding that you go into Mars and you can't come back.
Okay, I agree with
coming back.
I agree with what you're saying 100% now. I think that what you're saying is right now, and that's what
better
would have
be
to
what he fucking does.
That's what would have to happen.
That's not what he made it sound like.
Because if he was to send people like me and you, we would die on the way there because the panic attack of leaving for 6 months in space. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Well, you never go back.
But it takes 6 months to get to Mars, is what I'm saying.
Oh, God.
And that's at the closest point. And every 2 years, you can take this trip. Every 2 years, the closest you can get is 6 months. And he said that you might be able to get in 3, but that'd be risking it because if you overshot, you would end up in Jupiter's gravitational pull.
Could you imagine accidentally, like, could you imagine, like, I'm gonna go to Mars, and then you were in Jupiter and you did?
You wouldn't even know when you died. Like, it would happen instantaneously. It would be the craziest thing in the world.
No. It would be a slow death, because what would happen is you'd get stuck in their gravitational pull, and so Jupiter has I think Jupiter's the one with no, Saturn's the one with the rings, but still they have, like, a thing, right? So it'd almost be like you're a satellite, like, going around Earth, right? Mm-hmm. You can't launch off. They can't get you back. You're just gonna starve to death.
Well, once you pass Mars, I don't think there's just going back anyways, right? Like, what force, because you have to refuel constantly. You know that you would actually have to, there's no other method of traveling through space besides combustion.
Right. So that's what I mean. Like, if you miss where you're landing, you're dead, because especially if you get stuck in the Jupiter thing, like, there is no getting you out. You can't launch off anything because you're in a gravitational pull, even if you got smart enough to figure some shit out, right?
Yeah.
There's no anyone getting you. You're just going to starve to death. You don't die. You just starve to death.
Isn't it amazing how you have to play leapfrog with the planets and there's really no going about it? Like, if you want to make it back to Earth from Mars, you have to launch yourself back to Earth. You can't really just pick up and leave like an airplane would. Yeah,
unless, like, we found out how to make, like, those spaceships that are in, like, movies. And they can just kind of, like, float there and then go through space.
Well, shit. Now we're all kind of locking into Elon Musk's parallel universe, you know. And, like, the richest person in the world's always had the most influence on the world, you know. If you look at the Rockefellers and all sorts of, like, that's why the Illuminati is what it is. It's such a scary thing to people, that a family could control so many different facets of life. I mean, there's even fucking animals that have in their animal name is like Rothschild, you know. Like, there's fishes that you can pull up and their names are like Adophidica Rothschild, like shit like that. You see it constantly in the animal kingdom, and that shows you the level of influence that these people used to have. Because if you think about it, that was the biggest shit in the world at one point, knowing all that shit. People used to love to have knowledge. They used to have encyclopedia like libraries.
I know, I love people are so stupid now.
Well, it's just easy. You can reach at your phone and you can, but you see, without direction, it's really hard to take in a lot of information. You know, because you're looking at so many different things, you get distracted before you retain some real information. Mm-hmm. But if you're, like, studying and you're moving in a direction of learning things, you can really, like, consume the knowledge that you're getting. That's why there's some, like, our greatest minds of the past, like, used to read books constantly. If you know about, like, Stanley Kubrick, he would read, like, 30 books in 1 month. Mm-hmm. You know, you don't have those kind of people anymore who have that kind of fucking time, who are that successful, have that kind of time, and really have the pursuit of knowledge like that. The closest thing you can get to is like your Elon Musk and your Joe Rogan, people who consume at any given second, you know, like that they have. But I don't know. So that was a very interesting. You made me think about Mars in a more interesting way than I have all week, and I've been listening to different podcasts and stuff. Actually, making laws in space and on Mars is really interesting to me because it's like a futuristic thing to me. Like, it essentially is something that's going to happen in the future. But if we go back when they were trying to feed us some bullshit about aliens and information about, like, aliens showing up in this year, we're going to get all this information. Mm-hmm. And there's even the Galactic Federation, all these terms that they were throwing out there that sounded like bullshit, right? Well, on the podcast that I was listening to with Elon, Joe asked him about aliens, and Elon said, there's no evidence about aliens. He's like, if there was aliens, I'd jump all over it. He's like, there's nothing out there, and I would know. He said, and I took it to heart because Joe Rogan is somebody who has Bob Lazar and all these guys who are alien experts come onto the show, and you can tell that it's Joe's, like, childhood, like, dream that aliens be fucking real. Mm-hmm. And then Elon just shatters his shit, like, and you could just tell, like, Joe was, like, shattered about it. And I think it's so funny because, yeah, I mean, what if aliens are real? We would have already fucking known about it. Right now, at this point, it could be weaponized. It can be weaponized on us. Like, aliens, if you've heard about, like, the fake alien invasion that the elites want to plan, and I don't know how much of that is real, but just in theory, it sounds horrifying that they could use holograms and things of that nature to trick people. If you ever heard of the story of this a real-life event that happened in the early, was it 1900s? Or when, in the 1920s?
I think 30s. You put too much faith in that dude.
But hear this out, because you're going to make me change my subject, and I don't want to. On the radio channel, there was a guy who was like reading off this play or this book about when aliens were invading, but he did it on the radio. And people did not know that he was reading a fucking book.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
And they went absolutely crazy. They went insane. There was destruction that came about it. The reason why I think that that's interesting is because we saw the real life ramification of when you give out misappropriation in real time over airways. We saw what that was 100 years ago. Now, how interesting would it be to see what it does now if we were to do it with the power that we have now? And that's what I'm talking about with the faking, like a control system that uses holograms and people misinformation to trick people with fear into doing what they want. That's what they're talking about, but that's extreme conspiracy talk. That's like borderline like flat earther type shit, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're thinking about that, you need to chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
But this is like what people associate with aliens, because people don't know if aliens are going to be good or are going to be bad for us. And now that I hear that Elon says there's no fucking evidence of aliens being real, I'm going to tell you what. I don't even want to consider the fact that aliens are a possibility, simply because there's other things that we have to figure out.
Well, see, but that's what I mean. Like, you're putting too much faith in Elon Musk, what the fuck his name is.
Right.
Because, just because that dude's like, dude, because I'd be all over it. Dude, you're not that special. You're not. Sorry.
He has access to things where that would be. I mean, you don't take things into consideration that are fact, like the fact that he runs SpaceX.
Yeah, the government's just gonna tell him everything, because he's so special.
He knows more than the government.
They're gonna let him know everything.
Corporations are bigger than the government.
Every government's gonna let him know everything.
Do you believe corporations are bigger than the government?
Aliens are definitely going to come to him because he's just so special.
Hold on, I got a real question. Do you believe that corporations are as big or bigger than the government? Have more control, more power, more influence, more sway?
I think they do and they don't.
Because even though I don't like Mark Zuckerberg, when they were in there grilling him, every time he's gone in court about, overreaching and overstepping, whether it's privacy or influence with like Cambridge Analytica, dude does not look phased one bit. He knows his software, his technology. He knows his space better than those old motherfuckers. The difference is you're talking about internet companies, right? It's all related.
It's not, because an internet company is different than a clothing store. So, yes, they lobby for things with politicians, right, for laws, right, that they want passed to help them. The politicians do it because they want money. And obviously it benefits them to do it because they get paid, right?
Okay.
The reason that when you're watching Mark Zuckerberg sit up there and be like, I don't give a fuck, is because those companies, him, Twitter, all of that, know that, for one, they can do whatever the fuck they want, because the internet's kind of like a weird place, and laws with the internet are a little weird right now.
Right.
Until we get more on
Wild Wild West.
Yeah. Also, they're not controlled. Like, the things that they are doing, they're not controlled by the government. They're a free entity, and they can fact check all they want. They can ban things all they want. Like, they are a private company that is running, like, they don't have to follow free speech laws. And also, free speech doesn't mean that you can say whatever you want without consequences. It means the government can't, to a degree, punish you. But, like, you can be told that, hey, you can't say that here. Like, you can't walk into a restaurant and start calling people the N-word.
Right.
Like, you're going to get kicked out.
Right.
You just don't get to do that.
Like a public
chill.
forum.
Yeah. Like, it's not free speech. The government just can't do anything to you, really.
It's interesting how a private company can facilitate a public square. Mm-hmm. Because you're going to get people who are acting like they're in public, but they get governed and ruled, and this is a whole different conversation, but they get governed and ruled by a private company that has the ability to, like, for example, when Twitter was able to ban number 45, I'm not going to say his fucking name because I'm disgusted too. They were able to do so because they were the type of company that they were, right? They had the power to do so because of that. When you think about Twitter, you think about the opposite side of the spectrum and how they are big for freedom of speech, right? And to a certain extent, I mean, they're the most liberal platform that's out there as far as that goes.
Yeah.
I don't think that you can really express yourself in the way that you can on Twitter anywhere else.
Yeah, they let you really say whatever you want.
Because TikTok, they ban so many fucking things.
Dude, on Twitter, there are people with profiles where they like openly identify as like pedophiles.
Holy shit.
They call themselves maps, but like they openly identify as pedophiles.
Is it like is it the trolling stuff?
No, it's serious.
And how are these guys like able, echo chambers, right? They're able to really just stay out of everyone's way and just be sick online?
And they basically say that like it's like there's nothing wrong being attracted to children and that children can consent, and they're like really gross and they are like fully just public about it.
Do you think they're being watched on a scale of like terrorists would be being watched by the FBI and things like that?
I don't fucking know, because I know that like there's this girl I watched called Ready to Glare, and she talks about it. She was talking about it quite often, I think like a year ago or something like that, or a year ago probably. And I was like, dude, how the fuck is it so public? And like, God, no one's stopping, and like Twitter's just letting that be there.
There's a sick like internet culture, like trolling culture that enables these guys to really hide in daylight, like because they create so much like meme fuckery out there that people don't know what's real and what's not, and unfortunately until it's too late.
I guess you'd have to watch the video, but if you looked at those pages, they're pretty obvious.
They have their own culture and shit.
Yeah,
like the little fucking bear that they use, the pedo bear.
Oh god. Yeah, but that is a joke.
Is it? Like, I thought I saw something about it on an FBI documentary. About how
people like the government doesn't really understand internet humor sometimes.
Going back to our Mark Zuckerberg thing.
Yeah, I really do think that like that's a joke from my understanding. I haven't heard anything else about that.
It could be a troll, just like the LGBTQP or whatever.
Okay, that wasn't a troll. You know what that was apparently?
What?
I've heard, and this might be conspiracy theory.
Because I heard it was a troll. Yeah, go.
Yeah, that conspiracy theory that like it was people who were actually anti-gay people, and so they started that whole like pedophilia is part of the LGBT community to discredit them, because there were a lot of people that were pushing it. That when you actually went to their page, like their actual like if you found their actual Facebook page, they were actually like hardcore conservatives and stuff.
But isn't it possible that you get some idiots who are just out of the fucking loop and they're just following blindly because they think it's something that applies on surface level?
Oh no, there is. I think that's how that community started on Twitter. Is that now they think that it's okay.
Kind of like how the Proud Boys started.
Yeah, the original start of it though, from my like the conspiracy, or maybe I think there is some truth to it. You know, from people like being able to link people's like Facebooks and stuff to these accounts. That it was started by people trying to discredit LGBTQ community.
Okay. What do you think about the country singer who said an N-word like in his past, but he had like hits, like country hits, and people like
it wasn't in the past. He said it recently.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I read somewhere that he was on his property and he was younger and he said it in a video with his friends. If it was something recent, then that's even worse than I was imagining.
I think it was something recent where it was, video. Even if it was when he was younger, right?
Right.
He has come out and said that there was nothing okay with what he said and he deserves the punishment he's getting, and that everyone needs to stop defending him. And then his sister's gone and continued to defend him. So it's obvious that they grew up probably racist, and he has grown out of it and realized that stuff was inappropriate, and maybe that then you are right and that video is older and it's inappropriate, but his sister for some reason is still a racist bitch and thinks it's okay.
Well, his music is streaming 400 times or something, like the percentage went up. Like
that's because racists are defending him, but he has said that it wasn't okay. He said it.
I'm playing into like his motivation for making this statement, because he could have just not said anything.
He didn't say anything for a while. And
do you think he's trying to save endorsements or something by saying, because
it is possible he's saving endorsements, but I mean, I read the statement or whatever, and it did seem sincere, and I'm willing to give people the benefit of the doubt.
And
because he's saying people shouldn't defend him, and that he deserves the punishments he's getting, right? And he isn't asking to be forgiven. He's saying that he needs to learn, and this has taught him, and he's talked to people, and he's like realized that like he really shouldn't be saying that word, you know?
Right.
And, I mean, no one should be saying that word. It was my opinion, but he really shouldn't be saying that word.
Right. It's just confusing because not only, I mean, when Justin Bieber said it, he got backlash, but not to the point of where he was canceled because, as you could see, he dropped albums continuously after. But when he said it, people kind of gave him a pass where they didn't really, I mean, I don't know if it's because of the times, because now you can cancel somebody like a flick of a button almost. You hit a switch and like a coalition, a lot of companies that are intertwined with each other start to rip the posters down, metaphorically speaking, of somebody who does that. I think that the country backing, the fact that he's a country artist makes it worse because of the racial history that goes.
That is part of it. Part of it is the times thing where, like, nowadays, like, it, you know, it spreads faster. But the thing is, you have to take into account the internet exists, right? I think that we understand now as a society that it's the weight of those kind of words, right? Mm-hmm. And that we should not be saying that, and it's not appropriate no matter what. And it's just that now that is being taken more serious, and we are taking a stand that, like, this will not be accepted. Mm-hmm. We're done. We're over it. This is old news. Because we look like a laughingstock to a lot of other countries, you know? Mm-hmm. And it's gross. I don't want to be that, you know? Like, yeah. I don't want to, like, be ashamed of anything.
Yeah, it's just another bad look. Because America's kind of like the social, what do they call that? A test tube. Not the test tube, but like a lab rat. Where you can just do a bunch of experiments and see what the side effects would be. That's what America seems to be when you look at it as a social engineering aspect.
Well, okay, so, and the basis of what we were just talking about with the N-word and everything, right? And America and how cancel culture, right?
Right.
I was listening to this TikTok video where this girl really well, I like the way she explained it. Explained why she hates that people compare, like, how everyone doesn't hold the concentration camps over Germany all the time, but people hold slavery over white people, right?
Yeah.
And she explained the exact reason why it feels like that and why that happens. And the difference is when Germany went through their bullshit with their Nazis, not only did all the neighboring towns, I didn't know this, I learned this recently when I was watching it, they were forced to walk through the concentration camps. The people in the neighboring towns, the Germans, to see what the fuck they were living next to. They just were allowing, right?
So what, they just rub their face in the shit, so to speak?
Like when a dog poops in your house and you have to rub their nose in it.
Yeah.
Teach them no.
Yeah.
It was like that.
Interesting.
They...
You might have knocked the whole thing off.
Oh, fuck.
But you were saying?
They tried, all the people that were bad, they went to jail, they got punished. They teach about it in schools hardcore, like, they don't sugarcoat it. They talk about what happened. And they've all decided that this was a wrong thing and we aren't going to do this ever again. We're not fucking up. And all the people that were in these concentration camps have been given restitutions of, like, crazy amounts, right?
Reparations?
Yes, thank you. I'm bad at words. Compared to America with slavery, you know what America did after slavery? They made Jim Crow laws.
Yeah.
Then they made the prison system, which really is very similar to the slavery system with how we've privatized it. Mm-hmm. And how we punish the poor more. But we also made monuments to slaveholders and people from Jim Crow times who made those laws.
Yeah.
We still are allowed to proudly show off the Confederate flag, which makes no fucking sense.
How interesting is the worship that happens down south? It's almost like a religion, right? It's almost its own religion.
It's really like that's a cult. Yeah, and that's the problem. Is if you wear Nazi shit in Germany, you go to jail. You're fucking walking around with the Confederate flag in the U.S. and it's just Southern pride. And I'm like, no.
Do you think it's to enforce a mindset so that a mindset never changes? Like, oh, we're superior over everyone down here, you know, like the racist ideology that's behind that. Because I think it is an enforcement tool the same way that the Nazi flag was.
No, and you're probably right. It's just gross, and I hate it. And I'm just like, that's why it's different. That's why when you, like, white people use the N-word, or, like, people still bring up slavery, or the Jim Crow laws, or racism, it's like, motherfuckers, because we just didn't get over it. We didn't do anything to fix it. You just kind of were like, it's illegal now, so, like, get over it.
Mm-hmm.
Over it. I'm over it.
That's what that's how they're acting.
Yeah, I'm over it. Why are you over it?
Yeah.
It's like, bitch.
They have to, it's really desensitized. It's really disconnected.
Yeah. Germany makes, like, I've heard things and, like, talked to Germans and, like, foreign exchange students, and we're a laughingstock because of how we deal with shit. It's gross.
Well, we're a laughingstock on many levels.
Yes, but, like, on, like, just that level to Germany, they really do just look at us like, wow, you're fucking stupid.
Right. But the world does owe America a lot.
You can be a Nazi in America and it's legal.
Yes, but that doesn't negate from the fact that America has saved the world in the past.
No. Okay, what we did. I'm a history major, and I will tell you what we did. I feel differently about the past. World War I, right?
Right.
We got involved because Germany, like what was it? Okay. I'm really bad actually at World War I.
You gotta be good about this.
I'm bad at these things. I'm bad at this one.
To prove your fucking point, you gotta be good about this.
I can prove my point either way because it doesn't matter.
Bring it.
Okay, good. At least with the Second World War, I know for sure. I know we didn't get involved in the first one until, like, they threatened us again. Okay. Someone threatened us, and we were like, haha, don't threaten us, we're getting involved now because it involves us. World War II, we got involved with Germany. I mean, we were fucking minding our business. And then we got bombed by Japan, and then we were like, fuck. Gotta go deal with that. And we were cool. We didn't fucking care about Germany. Not our problem. France warned us, and we said, not our problem. You deal with it. And then they got taken over. We still did not get involved at all until Germany hit up Mexico and tried to get them to turn on us. And then Mexico was like, ha, that's so funny. Hey, U.S., I wanted to show you this telegraph I just got. And then we got involved. Because then they were threatening us.
Yeah, but
that's the only reason we got involved. Yes, we ended up winning because...
What's the answer? Build a fucking wall.
Yes. Like, the only reason we helped win is because we came in at the end with full power. We were already in war power because we were fighting Japan, right? And we had more resources at this point. And we had more people because we didn't lose as many people during the first war either because we didn't come in till the end of that one. Mm-hmm. Because I think Germany also fucking did weird shit. And we were like, whoa. Don't try to get people against us. That's not funny.
Right.
Like, that just happened both times. And then we got involved. Because then it threatened us. We didn't get involved to save anyone. We got involved because now it's a problem.
Okay, even if you don't get involved to save somebody and you do, does that make you any less of a hero?
Yes.
I don't think so.
Yes. I think you didn't do it for anyone else. We did it for us.
I don't think that matters when you save someone's life.
It does matter. It does matter.
On what level? On an emotional level?
Dude, if you're dying and I'm here, right? Mm-hmm. And I didn't like you, so I just let you die, right?
Yeah.
But you know what? It'd actually be sad to me if you died. So I guess I'll save you. Like, technically, that's kind of fucking shitty. I'm just saving you because it affects me.
I mean, if I'm watching it on TV, yeah, I would feel that way. But in real life, you don't get to see that kind of... No,
because this is how political science people talk about the world.
This is how you dissect people.
In the one political science class I took.
Okay, gotcha.
The world, it's called a theater.
Political theater.
It's a political theater.
Yeah.
So you're watching everything. You're just watching it all.
When you have access to it.
At all times, you can just be watching. Like, even when, like, right now, you're watching the world unfold, right?
But if you're making policy over something...
It's all a theater.
No, I get you. I hear what you're saying. But I was talking about, making policy. Maybe I'm going in one direction. But I hear what you're saying. Because if you're making policy, you're usually watching footage.
Let me tell you. If I was in World War I, and then I won that. Okay, let's say I agree with us not getting involved the first time. Why would we, right? Okay. I'm still going off on that because it's my best analogy right now.
Okay.
And I'm high. Okay. So, understand that. We got involved in the first one because they affected us. That makes fucking sense, right? Okay. But then if the same fucking problem arises a few years later, it wasn't even like it's like 100 years later and it happens again. Like, it was like, I think, a 10-year span between each other. Like, what the fuck? They become a problem again, right? And someone's like, hey, remember that thing you helped us with and you agreed that we would all keep this person chill? We all signed that treaty. I need your help. Oh, it's an Amber Alert.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And then you just kind of like, fuck.
Okay.
Just like, fuck you. I'm not getting involved this time. Like, if you get involved in the end, I think you're just still an asshole. Because, like, think of how many people could have maybe lived if we got involved in the beginning.
Interesting.
Because France got fucked. And they were, like, the only one that cared.
Wasn't it... Okay, so, like, Germany was playing chess, like, the whole time.
No.
Like how they... Well, depends on how you look at it. I'm talking about, like, when how they dealt with Russia and how they decided to make a couple different... I mean, I'm definitely looking down on the actions that happened because...
Right.
Because it was horrible. But, like, I'm speaking to the strategy of what the leader was thinking when he went in the direction. Because you have to understand these minds to know what's going on right now with a certain individual.
Okay. But when he went and did everything, they weren't hiding it. And honestly, if everyone would have done their job, it wouldn't have got to the point it was. So they, at the end of World War I, the treaty agreed to was they blamed Germany for everything. That wasn't fair because it wasn't completely Germany's fault. They just been like a little fucking devil on someone's shoulder telling them to start a war. The other person still started it, you know? And so they weren't allowed, they had to like pay everyone money, and they weren't allowed to grow their army, and they weren't allowed to, they had to give up like their coal, these areas to France or England, so one of them, and it was like all their coal production too. Like they just stripped them of every resource they had. And then all of a sudden you owe us money. And so they were broke as fuck after the war. And because of that, Hitler was able to rise to power by... He'd actually tried to take over the country before, and they failed. And then they didn't try them. That's why people have been comparing it to the trial with 45, because they didn't convict them, even though it was obvious they should have, right?
Right, exactly.
That's what happened with Hitler, too. And what happened was he came back, and he took over again by getting elected. And then he took over. And by, like, convincing everyone that it was, like, the Jews' fault that they were poor and everyone else's fault that they were poor, which, I mean, technically kind of was all the other countries' fault they were poor. Not the Jews, but, like, the people, because they really overly punished them. They really shouldn't have done it. It was, they could have prevented it right there by not being so fucking, like, weird about it. But every country was kind of like, this is my time to take things from everyone that I want. And just drained them. And they started growing their country, and it was obvious. Like, growing their military. And it was obvious they did it. They weren't hiding it at all. And
they were getting ready.
Yeah, and they were showing everyone. And then they were training armies, and they were getting bigger, and everyone knew it was happening. Because literally France noticed, and they reported it to England and America, and I don't remember what the other country was. There was one more. They reported it to them, and then England was like, we don't have the money to go back to war. Like, we can't lose people. We're just going to ignore it. Because, like, they're just trying to survive. They're not going to do anything.
So they thought.
Yeah. And America was the same boat. Like, no, that was expensive the first time. I'm not going back. Like, mind your business. And then Germany attacked everyone. So, like, we all had the chance to stop it. We all saw it happening. France, but that's why it's, like, sucks that France got fucked. Because they were, like, the one noticing it.
Yeah.
But I think it's because they threatened and they were like, you need to stop. You can't be doing that per the treaty. And then Germany was like, you want bet? You want bet?
Wow.
Yeah, because he also declared war on Russia.
Right.
And that, you don't declare war on Russia in the cold.
Yeah, because Russia knows how to fight in the cold.
Yeah, well, also Russia has this really crazy fighting tactic. I don't know if you've heard of where they will burn all the food in villages down to their own people, just so the enemy can't eat and will starve.
Wow.
It's a fighting tactic they use.
Self-sacrifice?
Yeah, they did it to Napoleon. So what would happen is when you know that the enemy's coming in, everyone would evacuate and they would burn down their village.
So they gave people a chance to leave?
No, not always. Oh. I just like to think they did, but I've watched some documentaries and there's no way of saying either way.
That's interesting.
Yeah, I like to think they do, but I don't think. I'm not gonna say.
Yeah, well, I mean, during times of war, that's when you start to see all, like, rights go out the window.
Yeah, you know? When Russia really don't go fuck. So they will burn shit to the ground, just a thing. I think they were really worried about Napoleon getting to Moscow because they'd have to burn it to the ground.
Wow.
They were ready. They were prepared. They were like, we will burn it to the ground if it means Napoleon doesn't get to lay his fucking hands on it. We'll fucking do it. Yeah, they're crazy when it comes to war. You don't beat Russia because they will literally chew off their own arm to survive, is the vibe I get.
Yeah. Fuck, I can't... There was a meme going around of, like, Russian firefighters who set themselves on fire to, like, create a barricade between, like... police and
that was in France.
Oh, was that?
That was French people.
But that was like the hardest meme of that year.
Because they were having a protest. And let me say, no one protests like the French. They have revolutions like nobody's fucking business.
Oh, it's kind of a thing. Right?
Yeah, and they're just kind of, ever since, they've just, it's like they did that. And they were like, this is a great way to solve all our problems. Every time anyone angers us, kill them.
Damn, they get such a, like, artistic, like rap, like, in the mainstream. If you look at, like, the way that they were portrayed in the 90s and then 2000s, is like somebody who's French and painting and has a weird hat on, and you know what I'm saying, like they get stereotyped in the movies, and it's almost to get crazy. It's almost to give you a certain, like, perception of who they are, but from what you're describing is that they could be a bit more ruthless in a militant kind of sense.
Oh yeah, I love it. Every year I feel like they have a fucking huge protest and they're all taken to the streets fucking wrecking their cops. And the cops don't do shit.
It's like the counterculture revolution kind of.
I fucking love it.
Their punk scene is really intense out there too. Like their music scene.
Yeah.
They have a real savage music scene.
They fuck shit up, dude.
Well, every European kind of country has, like, every country outside of America has a really interesting, like, underground scene.
You know what part of it relates to? Most European countries are not religious anymore. If you go to European countries, most people will identify as either atheist or agnostic than Christian.
So,
unlike America.
So it's like a side effect of that, is that the youth just start to, like, present themselves in a way that would be in previous times looked at as sacrilegious, or maybe, and yeah, I agree, because it's the gothic kind of, like, new wave that kind of leads, like, the fashion, like, that you see outside of America. Like, if you go to, like, Asia, for example, you will see so many different styles of that.
Yeah.
Sort of, like, it's almost like a cosplay, like, of like.
Yeah, you just do, when you get that out of the way, people just kind of do whatever they want. It's kind of great.
Yeah, it's amazing how serious the rest of the world takes fashion in that sense.
That's why I'm against organized religion.
Fashion replaces religion in some sense. That's crazy. Because people end up caring about their presentation so much in the long run, because it controls so much of your life.
Yeah.
You can get jobs, you can
get into... decide that doesn't matter anymore.
It's crazy.
That's what you get.
That's crazy. But America's kind of like that already as it is, because the more the city populous areas were like that, leading into the new millennium, like,
it's because
since the 70s maybe even.
As we get smarter and evolve and everything as time goes on, we're gleaning, there's more and more people every year that no longer identify with religion.
Right. Well, and
you do whatever you want. Nothing holding you back.
Yeah, but that only helps.
Except morals.
It's so weird, because you're right. It's like a trend that continues to just grow in that direction, but it starts to affect, like, culture, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, I would say some of the people who maybe have, like, existential, like, crises, because of crises. I don't know if that's a word. Because of their nihilistic, mindset that kind of sets in sometimes. They can lash out, and we can see some horrific things because of that. But that's any group. There's people who do bad things in the name of religion. So it's hard to say whether a belief system can idealistically make you good or bad as a person.
No, I think it's all morals. That's why I don't think, just because you're a religious person doesn't make you a good person.
Right. It just means
you don't believe in it doesn't mean you're a good person either.
That's why they call it practicing a religion, right? Because you're practicing this pristine, perfect image that you create.
It's because of when you practice a religion, it's it's usually a very real ritualistic thing, whether they like to be compared to that or not. Think of it like this: the best way to describe it is Catholicism. You practice Catholicism in the truest sense of practicing it. You wouldn't eat. I think today's Ash Wednesday or whatever. You don't get to eat meat.
But
you put the ash thing on your head.
But practicing is still used in the same sense.
There's acts you have to do, because you can be a Christian but not a practicing Christian. You're not going and doing the ritualistic things that you would need to do to be a practicing religion, practicing of that thing. You'd be a practicing Mormon. You're not supposed to have caffeine. You're supposed to go to church.
Well, you're just being specific about.
No, that's the term of when you're practicing a religion. It's not.
But the act of
practicing is the act of doing the religion, and the religion itself is a ritualistic thing. You can't just be if you're going to identify as a Christian or something, there's certain things you have to do to be a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
To be a practicing Christian.
Right.
Technically.
Damn.
So it's always going to be the act of. There is a ritualistic sense to it, no matter what.
Wow. Well, they kind of say that we don't know what a world with no religion or no belief systems like that. Organized religions kind of give every belief system a bad kind of rap because, of the corruption that follows.
That's right. I have no problem with religion itself. I have a problem with the idea of an organized religion. Someone telling them what their God tells them. That should be between you and whatever you feel.
Yeah. No, I feel that too.
Based on, because I used to be Baptist, and when I was raised Baptist, it was very... Maybe I went to a weird Baptist church because I hear other people talk about it and it seems a little more intense. Mine was pretty chill.
What do you feel about evangelical, televangelists?
They scare me.
They kind of give off like a darker vibe, like a hidden kind of vibe. Like they're trying to hide something.
They're way more culty to me because...
They're more culty.
They don't feel like real Christians, from my understanding. They pick and choose. And yes, every religion cherry picks the Bible to a degree. You choose which ones you want to believe, right? Technically, if you are against gay marriage, right? Then you believe in the Old Testament, which also means then you shouldn't be mixing fabrics. You can't eat shellfish, like shrimp. There's a lot of rules that come with the Old Testament. Most religions follow the New Testament, but they add little laws in from the Old Testament, which would be cherry picking, because then you're disregarding the fact that Jesus died for your sins. Therefore, all the laws of the Old Testament are not equal, except for the Ten Commandments.
Wow.
That's why when you're a Christian, you can wear mixed fabrics. Like satin and silk, because Jesus died for your sins.
Right.
Everything like that. That's why you can eat shrimp. So it's weird to me when they then decide to choose laws from the Old Testament, because I feel like it disregards part of the Bible. That's why I get kind of weird about organized religion, because it really does just pick and choose what parts it wants to follow, and none of it makes sense or is coherent based on what you're saying. Also, I've read the Bible, and it seems like there are two different gods in the Bible. There's a very mean God in the first part, and then he gets really nice in the second part.
You don't think it's the same one?
No, because when I went to Sunday school, they literally have you just read the Bible. At least the Baptist church one did. It was kind of weird. So, the first half of the Bible, he's very vengeful. He has a lot of laws against us that are aggressive as fuck. Like the fabric one, right? That's weird. The shellfish one, that's weird. That's really weird. Sorry, those ones are I'm stuck on because those are the ones I think of the most because they really like threw me off, right? Someone was tricked to eat something that she shouldn't have, and he's like, fuck all of humanity. Like, that's aggressive. Also now, I'm really, like, not vibing for what you guys doing. This family I like, though. Fuck all of you. Drowning y'all. Starting over. That's crazy. Oh, hey, dude, I want you to prove that you, like me. So instead of sacrificing lambs, because God wanted you to sacrifice things at the beginning of the Bible, he doesn't do that near the end.
Ritualistic.
Yeah. I don't want you to kill a lamb. I want you to kill your son. And he's like, okay. So then he takes his son, he puts him down, and he's going to kill him. And right before he kills him, God's like, psych. I just want to see if you do it. You really do love me. You don't have to kill your son. You can let him go. And then God just lets him go.
Wow.
How fucking rude is that?
Very.
That's sick and twisted. That's that's a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He just fucking pranked him. He fucking pranked him. God pranked him. Sky Daddy pranked him.
Sky Daddy.
I fucking love calling him Sky Daddy.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, so there's really no sweet transition for this, but, you know, one of the topics that I definitely love talking to Red about is cannibalism. And she's going to break it down a little bit about Armie Hammer for our audience, who are some of the biggest true crime followers that I know. Listen to my podcast too as well. So this is going to be really interesting for them. You're going to really like this.
Yeah, no, I really love true crime for some reason. The ones with the cannibals really fucking entertain me because they're just the weirder ones.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's just like them explaining like why the person got there. You're like, whoa, that how you get from point A to point B makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense.
It's the most extreme on the crazy, would you say?
Yeah, it's just like a hard turn.
Yeah.
Like there are like sometimes like you have to do it. Like we have signs of like in like America where like we've done it because like we had to do it.
Right.
Like we know cannibalism happened with like Jamestown because we found like a girl's body under someone's basement.
Right.
And it had like gnaw things, and we know they had like a famine during that time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like
in times of necessity.
Yeah, and she was with like other animal bones, and it was like, damn, we know what happened there. The Donner Party did it when they got stuck on the Blue Mountains during the Oregon Trail. They had to eat the dead. He froze to death.
They ate everything they could, and then humans were the last resort.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, anything that died. Like, you're not going to kill your horses if, like, they're still alive. But if that girl died, maybe you're going to eat her.
Yeah.
So why not?
It's like the first people to go discover some shit is always, like,
yeah,
the biggest victims. Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's gross. It's gross.
Fuck yeah, it is.
But, like, you know, you got to do what you got to survive, right?
Right.
But then some people do it just to do it.
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck?
That's really interesting.
Or it's like, are you into it, or is it like Armie Hammer?
Right.
Like, I'm like, is his like a weird kink, or like, because it's really weird. So.
Okay. Well, yeah. Explain
Okay, so first, I didn't know who he was before this happened. So apparently he was in The Social Network and Call Me by Your Name. I've never seen either movie.
What? Wait. He was in
The Social Network, and he was in another movie called Call Me by Your Name.
I've seen The Social Network.
Okay, I haven't seen either.
Okay.
I don't know who he played in either.
Okay.
I just know that that's what it said he was in.
So he was famous.
Yeah. I mean, he was recently dropped from a movie with J-Lo. Don't know what movie, just a movie with J-Lo.
Probably that Hustlers movie, yeah. Because
of the scandal.
Wow. Okay,
yeah.
So this was big in the news.
Yeah, because he was being accused of being a cannibal and being abusive to his ex-girlfriends.
Holy shit. Okay, so there was the lesser crime of being abusive, even though that's a big crime in itself.
Yeah.
And then topped with cannibalism. So there's a story that I'm imagining is crazy about this.
Yeah.
So how do you get discovered that he was a cannibal or that he had those tendencies?
So these I'm kind of still confused on how it started. Mm-hmm. All I know is that DMs came out from some girl he dated named Paige Lawrence that he dated for 2 months. Mm-hmm. And she said that he thought his fantasies were not only normal, but he had convinced her that they were legal.
Oh, wow.
Which I looked into because I was like, is it illegal? Cannibalism is not illegal in the U.S.
It's not
illegal?
It's
not illegal in the U.S., but many states have laws that make it basically impossible to get a hold of legally. So if you get a hold of it and you eat someone, there's no legal way to do it. So they've made it illegal that way. But what I don't understand is why don't we just make a law that says cannibalism illegal?
Maybe because there's some sort of way that they don't want to tell you. Like there's a hidden reason why they leave it open.
Which scares me. I don't like that. I don't want to think about that.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, because it's basically illegal and nearly impossible to get it legally, why wouldn't you just make it illegal?
Right.
But it's not illegal. So he wasn't wrong there.
Okay.
But they're not normal. Because what he wanted to have sex with limp women, which would mean like women knocked out.
Okay.
Blacked out, dead, like just not.
Is that where the
consenting.
abuse comes into?
Yeah.
Okay.
He wanted to crush and eat girls' bones.
Oh, wow.
He begged her to have her ribs removed so he could barbecue and eat them in front of her. He really wanted to do it in front of her.
What a
He said that he could find and schedule a appointment with a plastic surgeon who would remove a couple ribs for her because she doesn't need them, is what he said.
I wonder if he's done that before.
He wanted to brand and carve a letter A on her because his name is Armie Hammer. And he thought it was a really sweet gesture of commitment that meant they were going to be together for a long time. They're together for 2 months, max. Well, she was, like, not sure. Well, this is what she said, that she wasn't sure if he was serious, so she was, like, staring at him, like, what the fuck? He lunged at her and actually plunged the tip of her knife in the area right above her vagina and tried to carve it without her consent.
Wow.
He also had, like, this is where, like, the BDSM gets in, but then a lot of people in the BDSM community are like, we don't claim him because it doesn't seem like a fantasy to him.
Right.
And it doesn't seem like he wants it to be consensual. Because he's not being consensual in a relationship, even, you know?
Right. It sounds like he's an attacker.
He wants to have slaves. Like, he wants to call them his slaves forever. He wants to, like, do things to,
like, sexual partners?
Yeah. Multiple girls he was talking to said he called them his kittens. And they have all come forward and called him dangerous.
Wow.
And they've showed, like, DMs, and they're really gross DMs. I saw them, and I didn't like them.
The cannibalism thing is what makes this interesting.
Yeah. His ex, Courtney, accused him of grooming her and says she did things with him she wasn't comfortable with, and he knew it.
Do you think this guy was, like, a real deal cannibal?
I don't fucking know.
Because the way he described eating the ribs is disturbing.
Yeah, and she says he brought that up multiple times. Like, to the point that she says that he's a danger to all women, and he caused her a lot of trauma.
In this circumstance, I can see how he can get punished like he is a real cannibal, whether he is or he isn't. Just simply because,
it's just gross.
Just simply because when you think about it, it's like preventing a future crime.
Yeah.
Because when someone is that graphic, that extreme, you're worried that they're going to take it into action.
Well, she has taken him to the cops for the carving thing because I think that was the line for her. Mm-hmm. Because I did not look it up because I didn't want to see it, but there's picture evidence out there of it, apparently.
Wow.
When I was, like, looking into that a little more.
So I think, I think cannibalism reached a really interesting point is when the internet really took a hold of it. When the dark web started to create safe spaces for these sick fucks to have, their sick, twisted pleasure away from society.
Oh, no, you're going to love this.
Yeah.
It was on the web before the dark web. There was a safe space for it before the dark web. It was called the Cannibal Cafe.
Yeah. I've heard of that.
That was not the dark web. That was like, you could get on there.
Right.
Anyone could get
But
on
eventually it transitioned to being just a dark web thing, is what I was mainly
because the internet made that split. But
right.
It didn't used to be. Like, you used to just, like, anyone could access
But that's how Wild Wild West internet was a lot like that. I mean, you could virtually end up in the worst, most crazy, like Pain Olympics, like shit like that.
Yeah, that's gross.
That's just how it was. It was unregulated, unrestricted.
Dude, he's also was accused of other things recently, too.
Really? Like
Okay.
what?
He posted a video on Instagram of his young son, which he really looked like he was like 8, sucking his toes.
Oh, wow.
With the caption, "This happened for a solid 7 minutes. Hashtag foot fetish on fleek."
That's wrong.
That's really, I saw the video because I was like watching a video talking about it. And it was gross. Like, she blurred out the kid's face, but like it was like a 7, 8-year-old. It's like a little boy.
You know, trigger warning, but like sometimes these people are molested and they end up going crazy. Like, that sounds like he was molested at some point.
It's gross. And then his ex-wife said that it was an inside joke that he shouldn't have posted. Which just makes him worse, actually.
Yeah, the fact that people are enabling that kind of behavior.
Yeah, his ex-wife. So, like, the mom of the child. Yeah. The mom of this kid. Yeah.
Maybe she's a sick fuck, too. You know?
Yeah, like, that's gross.
That is very gross. That's so wrong.
Yes.
So I'm glad that happened. I mean, you know, I think that these guys should be pursued in the same way any extreme criminal is, you know, staked out and shit like that, you know, because even if you take these guys off the, you know, I believe that having footage and files of this kind of nasty shit, it creates a demand for more of that nasty shit.
Yeah.
So it's like cleaning the web of these guys is essential, but I almost feel that they're used to catch more people like them and then used in like other needs. Because if you look at To Catch a Predator and like those kind of sting operation busts, they use tactics that are like bait and switch, you know, where they put a voice actor in a different room, they lure the guy in, and then they gotcha, kind of trap him in. I think that is amazing in practice, because what it does is it creates, you know, like a platform that shows you that if you do these things, there will be real life consequences that come from it. But I do think that it's interesting that these kind of things have side effects too. Like, there's people who have killed themselves because they've been on the show, and that's really sad. But who is to fault because of it, and how do we prevent more of it, kind of thing?
I would say, I know a case, like the reason that like did whatever that one was, Predator, was because that one like politician killed himself or whatever.
Oh, it was a politician.
Yeah.
Okay.
I watched. Yeah. That's his fault. Listen, if it wasn't real, how'd you kill yourself?
Right.
And I'm not gonna cry over one less pedophile or predator in the universe. So I don't think they did anything wrong.
He took out the trash himself. Basically.
Yeah, that's his problem, because there was so much evidence that he did do it.
Right. And you're right. We don't show sympathy for those type of people in society. I think that there's a push for mental health to kind of cover the basis on all mental issues. Because if you think about it, they always try to go to the root of things to like see where things went wrong, so that they can create systems to kind of help prevent or help alleviate some of those pressures that create those kind of situations from happening. So I think it's really interesting, because when you start to do a lot of research in these monsters and you start to peel back the layers of who they are, you eventually find where they went wrong, or where wrong went on them. And it's just very tough, because you have to have an opinion towards what they are and what they do. But when you know more and more of the mechanics behind it, it's really hard to like not have a psychological understanding that people could be like no, you should just be emotionally one way. And it's like, okay, well, you know, people who are in the psychological fields, like therapists, they have real trouble having emotional connections, because they have to look at everything so unbiased and unregulated. You create yourself into some sort of like robotic version of yourself that only operates in one certain like, you know, understanding, and that makes it tough for people to connect with you. So I do understand that's a job like being a police officer. You know, it's really thankless in a lot of unseen ways. And I think that in order for us to have a good take on mental health, we have to have our experts in tip-top shape, and that's really hard to do, because who's creating the systems that are protecting them?
Right. Because
this is wild, wild west too in the psychological field. You got a lot of therapists who are out there trying to do their best, and they're taking in a lot of information every day. They got multiple clients.
We still don't understand the human brain and all the things it fucking does.
Yeah. we're in the dark because we only believe things that are partial truths a lot of times. Like, 8% of your brain works. 15. You only have control of 15% of your brain.
Well, now they're like, no, you control all your brain technically, and I'm like, they're like, they just isn't all working at the same time.
Yeah, like certain things fire up.
Yeah, there's only certain percentages at different times. And they're like, only 8% ever works at any single time, but you do use 100% of your brain. So it's like we've just been, like, saying it wrong. Or, like, we didn't understand exactly, but now we do.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is, like, you use 100% of your brain, but it's only, like, 8% at any given time at one.
So fact is only as true as the evidence.
Yeah.
Would suggest.
Yeah.
That's fucking interesting.
Yeah.
Because we believe that what we know to be fact is just that.
That's
we
why
trust it.
In science...
Yeah.
If you don't know something, it's called a hypothesis, but when you, like, kind of prove it, it's called a theory, because it can always be disproven later on, or it could change, right? That's why gravity's a fact, technically, but it's the theory of gravity. It's a theory.
Like the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah. Technically, the Big Bang is how, like, we know it worked, right? But at any given moment, we could learn some new evidence, and it could change everything. They recently discovered, I was reading an article that they recently discovered dark matter, and they think it makes up, like, a good portion of all matter in the universe, right?
Right.
And they think that the particles of it can lead and help, like, go to the fifth dimension.
Right.
And I was like,
so where's the fourth, right?
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck, guys?
Well, people argue the fourth dimension is the internet, you know.
But, like, yeah, they were like, oh, yeah, we're understanding dark matter more. Lead us to the fifth dimension. That's where it goes. And
what if the secret behind teleporting is dimension hopping?
It probably is, dude. It's moving through. Yeah, it's moving through matter.
Tell me why teleporting's always been a thing in our like society. Like, we've just always understood what teleporting meant. Like, because it's been put in front of us.
Well, I mean, not necessarily, because every society has a different word for it. But the idea of being able to just move from one into, like, go from one place to another sounds amazing.
Like the base word of tele really sums it up for me. Television, telegraph.
But that didn't pop up, like...
So it's like a sci-fi term.
I want to look up when the word teleport, like, was invented.
It's a sci-fi term? Like, maybe it came along with sci-fi culture, like movies and comic books and things of that nature. You gotta find the origin for things for them to make more sense. Because teleport's interesting.
1878.
Wow. I would imagine that they used associated with mysticism, right? Yeah. Because magic and space are like interchangeable.
Oh my god. The government has this thing posted where you look it up. This is, because someone said, is teleportation possible 2020? While human teleportation currently exists only in science fiction, teleportation is possible now in the subatomic world of quantum mechanics. Albeit not in the way typically depicted on TV. In the quantum world, teleportation involves the transportation of information rather than the transportation of matter.
Wow.
I'm like, fuck you guys. So the internet. They're like, oh, yeah, the internet's teleportation, technically. Well, fuck you guys.
Well,
that's not what we mean.
That's a reach. Even if you were to consider virtual reality,
I just want to say that's the government
as being the base of that, because virtual reality can make you live an augmented reality.
Why teleportation is not possible. Discovery.com. In reality, we can't pass particles of matter through most materials because they interact too strongly with atoms inside. That gets to the key problem with any kind of teleportation. The matter making up our bodies obeys rules that aren't conducive to speeding across open space and through barriers. Will we ever be able to teleport? I don't know, Discovery, can we? Sorry, I want to know now.
Yeah, I think teleporting would be interesting, but what would it mean for the rest of the world, you know? You couldn't be the only person who teleported. And if everybody can teleport, then why do it? Right?
Basically, no. Unless we learn some new fucking information about cosmos, we will never be able to teleport matter. That mean, that was made in 2020, so, I mean, we just discovered more things about dark matter, so who knows?
Teleporting would only benefit, like, assassins and fucking, you know, thieves.
No, not always. Teleportation would be fucking amazing for transporting goods. Yeah. And cars pollute everything. What if we could just teleport everywhere?
Well, yeah, if everybody could teleport, but I doubt that...
I mean, eventually I think society would get there. It's just like, at one point, only rich could get cars, right? Mm-hmm. But now everyone has cars.
Well, teleporting would have to be some microchip or something.
No, you could, like, make some fucking, like, system.
Like a portal, a portable portal?
Or like a subway system.
Well, for teleporting. Yeah. You're talking about using transportation to teleport. Okay. I was thinking more of a device that would teleport you.
Well, I was thinking like a subway system, but like almost like if you watched fucking Harry Potter, where they like go into the fucking fireplaces and then just go where they want to go. Okay. I imagine like you going into a machine and it takes you to where you need to go.
What if you go into your phone? That'd be tight.
That's scary. I don't want to go on my phone.
Yeah, but you use like a reverse hologram projector to go into your phone.
I don't want to go on my phone.
Well, I think this has been a pretty good length podcast. I want to kind of keep it a good length because our listeners like to listen to the longer ones. So I think unless Red's got anything else that she wants to add on to this one,
no,
we can pretty much get ready to sign off on this. So yeah, I hope that we weren't too controversial in certain aspects, and I hope you learned something because that's what we're here to do. You know, coming live from the Northwest, Tri-Town Tory.